So, I was talking about the ultimatum an INTJ faces in reality. Um, in the sense of having an unlimited amount of power as far as being able to pick up on pattern recognition in all social situations, all system situations, everything. And because anything can be controlled once the system is identified, once the variables are identified, and once you identify exactly what the equation is. So, about up through halfway through college, I had bloomed into this social butterfly, so to speak. So, I had put on this persona. Um, I would say in seventh grade, I first started implementing it, and over time, I forgot that it was implemented. I stopped doing internal things as much, and I found that the social scene filled my head with so many thoughts and so much insecurities and so much drama that and so many emotions that it blocked my ability to hear myself think. And in doing such, I got lost for, I don't know, um, 10 years, maybe. And in that 10 years, though, I didn't, I would say I pushed my systems more into a subconscious state. So I was still able to create and manipulate anything and fully know that I was doing it, but I had forgotten how and why. So my life had kind of blossomed into this social state of, I had a lot of friends. My friends loved me. I loved them. I was very much like the party thrower, the center of the party. Um, it was really a tough time in my life because I had lost myself to the power, so to speak, of an INTJ in the sense of, whereas I never knew how to interact with people. Um, Once people started treating me in negative ways and kind of like reaching in and grabbing my energy, I would say like it was one 10-year long retaliation that I got lost in. And whether we had great times or not, we had great times for sure. Um, but did anyone have any idea who I was really? Like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you could ask any of those people today, and they'd, I mean, I would say, like, if they interacted with me today, they'd be like, well, he's just very different. And, so I had some experiences happen in my life, some very hard things to deal with that were unavoidable externally, um, and unsolvable internally. And that kind of shook me up to the point where um, I guess it knocked me off my pillar. And when it knocked me off my pillar, I remembered that I had just been joking, that I had just been faking a certain social persona, and and I realized how ingenuine it was and how not in integrity it was for myself. So it was the right time for me to kind of dip out of the game, and it was a very hard thing because nobody understood. I definitely was very much holding together this social umbrella, and overnight, I would say I took off my persona. I left all of my friends. I left all my social obligations, and I moved in a different direction. And it was very difficult And I know other INTJs have experienced this, where once you stop trying to control everything and you have this ability to control everything, what do you do with it? So I became a social recluse and developed a very intense form of social anxiety. And I would put this completely on the fact that in social situations, like I said earlier in the first video, people aren't being genuine with each other because of our social norms and because of our insecurities and because of the unconsciousness we've put within ourselves to avoid the pains of our past. So people put on, let's give an example. Like you see someone walking down the street and they look angry, they walk like a thug, they're unapproachable, their energetic field, if you look at the energy of it, is surrounded in barbed wire and pit bulls. And it's not that that person is necessarily like that, but it is like we all have to develop defense mechanisms in order to keep people from just walking up and stealing our energy on a regular basis. So people get lost in these defense mechanisms that they normally develop in their childhood years to keep their parents from taking all their energy. And so once you stop being that, it's like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? What's the point of anything? And how can you interact with anyone? Because no one can have it. No one can handle the honesty. No one can handle the straightforwardness of observation, like unbiased observation. So because of that, I felt like once I dropped that outer shell, you go through another phase, and the phase is a phase of massive judgment. And this comes from the fact of resentment due to having no one to relate to, and due to how segregated you feel from the whole world, from all of reality. And that was a tough time because that lasted a while. 7 years, maybe, for myself. And so over that time, I worked on honing my integrity. That was something I really cared about. Was, okay, I'm not going to control this, so I need to focus on a couple different things. One of which was, who am I going to be when I'm forced to be in a social situation? How am I going to act? And the other was, what am I going to do to allow everyone their own personal freedoms? How am I going to decharge myself in all the situations where I would lash out due to reaction and annihilate things and people, just because you understood things. Someone comes up to me like, hey, you look like an asshole. And just over time, like you get into confrontations with people. And there are people that are in a lot of pain, so they come up to you and they try to get you going. And sometimes they get you going. But as an INTJ, you understand the systems that everyone is running on, so you can cause serious damage to another person by simply stating one of their systems. I remember different times when people would be like, you're a little bitch. And I would be like, yeah, well, you're afraid to express this aspect of yourself because you don't feel loved by your dad. And people would just break down. And it's a terrible thing to